Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you all here this evening with us. I don't want to hold us too much, but I do want us to go ahead and get started, and so we can have a great discussion. So just to recap really quickly, as Director Packer mentioned, in the city of Los Angeles, prior to the issuance of a license or renewal pursuant to section 104.12, a licensee will have to submit a report to DCR that describes the licensee's community engagement, corporate philanthropy with the neighborhood surrounding the licensee's business premises, and or compliance with applicable state and city and state cannabis laws and regulations within the previous calendar year or years. So what we want to do tonight is look at what criteria should be evaluated, what people think should be able to should be included in these reports, and all of that great stuff. And one thing I do want to note is in Forbes magazine, they have a quote that says from a article that says cannabis businesses are in a unique position to showcase what a socially responsible industry could look like. And so I'm going to now pass it over to MBI Media to lead the discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer. So based on what you guys just heard Ms. Plummer say, and this time we're going to be having you raise your hands to make a comment, but right now we would like to ask you guys, please let us know, what does corporate social responsibility mean to you? And feel free to respond in whatever way that hits you, but let us know, what does corporate social responsibility look like to you? Okay, I'm going to be unmuting. Ian, you are unmuted.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. To me, corporate social responsibility is when businesses are able to give back to the communities effectively to help those most in need. Yeah, that's my simple definition of corporate social responsibility, giving back to the community.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Going to Brian Bowens. What is your answer to that question on what corporate social responsibility looks like to you?
Corporate social responsibility, and particularly in the cannabis industry, should be very much differentiated between just philanthropic and charitable expectations of a corporation. I think the social responsibility is much more about being an active partner in community, being a responsible and responsive partner in the community that they occupy, and the spaces that they deal in. So it's not just, simple philanthropy and simple charity, but it is a far more active and far more engaged position that they need to take in being an actual participant in the community and a partner with other community organizations. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else want to chime in on this question on what corporate social responsibility looks like to you? Louis, go ahead, you've got the floor. What does corporate social responsibility look like to you? Louis or Louis?
Yeah, I think I would agree with what both of them said. An active role and an understanding that they're needed in the community. But I would also want the DCR to look into the existing dispensaries and their social value to the communities. These cats come in here like corporate raiders, and they just take all the money out of the community with no social value of putting anything in. Believe me, the social equity owners, we're focused on putting back in the community, but the existing dispensaries are not. And you guys should have them with the same criteria you're giving us to give back to the communities that they've been taking out of for years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Ms. Plummer, do you want to move on to topic 2 now? I don't have any additional raised hands at this time.
I will, oh, I think I see one more raised hand.
Yes, Madison, what's your comment?
Yes, I would just like to add, enforce the existing social responsibility for the EMMDs, where 50% of their staff, they're supposed to be attempting to hire folks from within the community, and that's not being enforced, and I highly doubt it's being acted on. So enforcing that part.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Ms. Plummer, there are no other hands at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. So let's go on to our second topic of the evening. And so we're going to continue the conversation around corporate social responsibility. And from that last poll, we saw that most people wanted or said that the topic area that they felt should be addressed is equity. And so thinking about that, I'm going to equity followed by diversity and inclusion, workforce practices and policies and hiring. And so I want to bring this back to MBI to spark some discussion around this with you guys. And again, feel free to drop your comment into the chat as well if you don't want to raise your hand, but we really want to hear from everybody tonight. That's going to really help foster a great communication.
Exactly. This is your time to speak up. So basically, based on what you just heard, what should be included in corporate social responsibility report? What should be included in a corporate social responsibility report? In other words, if DCR put together something, what would you guys like to see in the report? Okay, I see a hand raised. I'm unmuting you, Brian Bowen. You're unmuted.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again. Again, I think one of the most important things, and particularly in the cannabis industry moving forward, is that just like everybody has kind of alluded to, that we do not need to have a separation between this industry and the activities within our community. I think a key point should be not only included in the report, but a part of the ongoing business. There should be an ongoing relationship with a nonprofit that is based in the community for each dispensary. So if it be focusing on the homeless, if it be focusing on marginalized community, if it be focusing on the LGBTQ plus community, if it be focusing on disabled rights or whatever, each dispensary needs to have an ongoing and continuing relationship with a nonprofit or NGO that has been operating within the community that they're doing business within.
Mr. Bryan, may I ask you a follow-up question?
Sure.
Part of what we have to figure out is how we want to define what the local community is. Do you have any specific recommendation on how that should be framed? Sometimes we divide things by community plan areas. Yeah. Sometimes we do council district. We could do within a couple of blocks radius, a mile radius? Do you have a specific recommendation on what you would be considered, what you would want to see considered local, community-based organization?
Yeah, I think that should be the one part or one aspect of this that can be a little bit more wide ranging and a little bit more amorphous. Like I said, if it's the interest of the actual participants, the business owners, the social equity person, if their actual area does not have an organization that perhaps focuses on an aspect that they want to focus on. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying out of state. Let's not be ridiculous. I don't think out of state or out of country would be necessary. But if it's out of your service area, if it's out of your council district, but if it's within the city, within the county, and if it has that special kind of statewide broadness, it could be even a nonprofit that's organized on a state level. But I think that's something that could be a little tailored, and that's why it would be specific to your report. Like, okay, this is the organization that we partner with. They're not necessarily in our local community, but I think that they are instrumental in the generalized community overall. And not to say, and I don't think any one dispensary is going to garner traffic from just their service area. So they may, if it's a delivery service or if it's a dispensary that has a delivery service or has a wide footprint throughout the county, that for whatever reason. So I don't think that should be limited to with blocks within or anything like that. I think it should be specific to the aim of what that organization is trying to accomplish with this social responsibility.
Got it. Thank you so much. I appreciate your feedback.
And the next,
Always.
I'm going to be going to Madison, but let me throw this out there. What should be the standard of community engagement by cannabis businesses? So you can either address that or what should be included in the report. Madison, you have the floor.
Yes, I agree with each dispensary having to support a nonprofit. I think that the nonprofit should either be located in or the services they provide be directed within the police reporting districts that have been identified as the social equity disproportionately impacted areas. Because not every dispensary is in those areas. The dispensaries can be all over the city, but I think we want to tie those benefits back to those communities that were hit hardest.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your comment. Ian McMillan, we're coming to you next. Would you like to speak on what should be included in the report, or what should the standard of community engagement by cannabis businesses? What should be the standard? I'm sorry.
I would second Madison and Brian in that working with local nonprofits in areas that would disproportionately affect the most be focused on. I second that. And also too, I think early childhood education should also be a corporate social responsibility, especially in areas that were disproportionately affected. Homelessness, I think, is something that should be addressed as well. And also employing individuals that live in disproportionately impacted areas. I think those three things should be focused, where corporate responsibility should be, they should hire people in those areas.
Does anyone feel that there should be different stipulations for corporate social responsibility based on license type? And
Me
again,
personally,
we'd love to get input from a lot of different people. So everyone, please feel free to raise your hand. We want everyone's voice to be heard, and we want you guys to all have a part in this discussion. But should there be different stipulations for corporate social responsibility based on license types?
Ms. Smith, I'll interject and just articulate really quickly that the chat is open if folks don't want to respond audibly and provide feedback. So please feel free to use the chat to provide feedback as well if you're unable to raise your hand and participate audibly. Thank you.
Or if you're shy.
I know some of the folks on this call and they're not shy.
And by license type, we're meaning, so like, should there be different not qualifications, but should there be different requirements for retailers versus distribution versus cultivation? Oh, I think that sparked some notes.
Yes, Ms. Sherry Franklin, we're going to unmute you. What is your comment on what we're speaking on right now?
I would say that there's so many other efforts happening in the city by so many other departments that we should look and see what they are prioritizing by neighborhood. You've got the housing department, EWDD, that have had extensive plans. We've got community plans. We have housing element plans. We should coordinate instead of having yet another plan for prioritizing improvements that need to happen in communities, and particularly coordinate with the neighborhood councils first, so that there's some level of synergy and thought leadership behind where funds should be directed.
Thank you very much. And how about Brian Bowen? What's your comment?
Oh, I was just going to clarify that, you know, I didn't think that my idea of my suggestion of a morphism kind of to this needs to be, but those are all great ideas, but I think it should be stipulated in, because the question was what should go in the report. So I think they should be able to articulate, you know, very well, you know, what their aims are at achieving by partnering with these, with a nonprofit. But like Ms. Franklin just said, you know, actually having an actual program that focuses it to desperate areas would be good. But if you're just asking like for them to do it by themselves without, you know, direction from the actual city of how to actually direct this, I think it would be, you know, like it'd have to be explained why they went out of their area or where, or, you know, but I think they should have the opportunity for that, you know, explanation. But if it starts with just the neighborhood councils, I think that's a great starting point.
Thank you. And how about the person that's calling in from phone number 8986? And you might need to do *6 to unmute yourself. Phone number 8986. Your hand is up, but you might need to do, there you go, we can hear you. What's your comment?
Hey, hi, thank you so much. I think there should be determination or how it's rolled out based on company size and how many people are employed in the business. It should be different EMPDs, less or larger, like for corporations. That would be my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And let me ask one other question regarding this particular topic. What distinction, if any, should be made regarding corporate social responsibility that is financial in nature, as in direct donations or proceeds go somewhere, or service-oriented community impact days, volunteering, pro bono services? So what distinction should be made regarding corporate social responsibility that is financial in nature? Alfred, I'm going to go to you next.
Thank you so much, and great evening to everyone. You know, I think it's really important when you think about the redlining issues and housing crisis, and when you start thinking about all of the racist things that have taken place throughout this economy, right? It's really important that we look at the economic base of the communities that have been marginalized, right? And we focus on how to rebuild those communities. So from education to housing, maybe there should be a fund that creates grants for other type of things. I really view social equity as a hybrid business model that can allow for other industries to get on board. Maybe it's not just a cannabis business. Maybe it's a coffee shop. You know, maybe it's a bike shop. Maybe it's another type of a retail opportunity that people can actually tap into based on these resources that will be available monetarily. We can't just look at this as charity. Everybody that needs help is not a charitable case. You know, there's levels to poverty and this economic breakdown that we've been dealing with on all different levels. We're basically erasing the middle class, right? And so I know I'm saying a lot and talking fast, but yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And then we'll take one more comment, Ms. Plummer, and then we can go on to the next topic. Louis, what is your take on this topic?
Thank you. I believe the starting point should be the community councils. Like someone said, we should start there at the grassroots and work with them to find the needs and the issues of each community, because each community is different in their needs. And I believe that each owner should work with a nonprofit that specifically deals with the issues in that community. So let's say downtown on Skid Row. Well, we know that's housing and drugs. So they could find two of whatever to work with them in solving or helping with those issues. And each one should be adapt to the community that they're serving. But what we should do though is who's gonna monitor to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And the DCR should make it a percentage, 2%, 3%, whatever. You should make it a percentage that they give back to the community. And then, well, that's it right now. Thank you so much.
Perfect. And then we'll take one more and then we'll move on to the next topic. Ms. Franklin, what say you? Oh, looks like she lowered her hand. Ms. Franklin, do you have any comment on the topic? Okay, if no one else has a comment, Ms. Plummer, we can move on to the next topic.
Great, thank you, Ms. Smith. So, in considering what should be in a corporate social responsibility report, let's think about the actual development and submission of a corporate social responsibility report. As mentioned, if a licensee fails to submit a report by the designated deadline, DCR may, sorry about that, may impose administrative penalties or under corrective action as provided in the code. In addition, these reports may be publicly disclosed, including being posted on DCR's website. So let's discuss this a little bit further.
Hey, Raina, as we go into the breakout room, there's a little bit of nuance that I'm hoping we can kind of tease out as well in this breakout room. So for folks who are here, the reality is that the ordinance today only requires reporting. And reporting assumes that the information is coming to us after the fact. And so as I listen to different comments from stakeholders, I'm thinking about the fact that some folks may actually desire there to be a plan that operators may have to submit, and then a measurement of whether or not the report would be whether or not folks set out to accomplish or what progress folks made in the establishment of that plan. But I want to be very clear, and I pose this because it's not just that we're seeking recommendation on the report itself. If the actual ordinance language needs to be changed so that we're requiring more than a report, I want to be able to get that feedback from stakeholders as well. So you can imagine a report could be created where we said, describe your corporate social responsibility for years 2018, 2019, 2020. And someone could very simply say, you know, my corporate social responsibility effort was, you know, donating, food 1 year. But they would technically satisfy that requirement because they submitted the report. So as we have this conversation about the reporting requirement, I recognize that we also need to think through how we go beyond reporting. That's what I'm hearing from stakeholders today. So if folks have feedback about that, I want to make sure that this is a forum to share that as well. And I guess the point is that there's a difference between a plan, a report, and a requirement to do certain things. And what we have today in the ordinance is a report, not a requirement that folks do X, Y, and Z for environmental sustainability or to support compassion programs. And I think the original concept behind this was that we would kind of see what the industry was doing. And as we develop best practices, we may be able to implement some of these things as requirements. But that's a distinction that I want to make and kind of get feedback from folks on. So I'll pause now. And you are muted, Ms. Smith.
I sure am. Thank you. Alfred, did you want to make a comment about what she just stated?
Yeah, that was a great call out. I appreciate that, Kat, because I do think that we should have like some requirements. And I also think that we should be finding and vetting organizations. Oftentimes, and that's why I spoke about the charity aspect earlier, oftentimes that those charitable donations, all of that big money that all of those corporations talked about for racial equity and social justice over this pandemic and all of that, that money doesn't always fall down into the community. So we need to really figure out, how do we get the money really to the people that are really in need? And so part of the requirements that I could think of, like, you know, outside of just the need, but like when you think about the grow facilities, we're talking about phasing out LED lights. Phasing out those other type of lights because of the carbon footprint. So it's things like that where we see the science is clear. Water rights. I mean, making sure that that we're taking care of our water. If we don't take care of our water, what are we going to drink? You know, so I think from a scientific perspective, but then I think it's really important to key in on organizations that are actually doing the work, that can prove that they're doing the work. And it should be public knowledge. I mean, these nonprofits are public and they have to present their budgets and be public facing. So some type of criteria that can identify and measure the outcome of what these corporate social responsibilities are. We're not just trying to feed people. We need to teach people how to fish. Everybody won't learn how to fish in that process, but they can't say that we didn't teach people how to fish with this.
So basically, regarding the application of corporate social response policies and reporting to the city of Los Angeles, are you interested in seeing companies' corporate social responsibility reports or policies? And also, how do you guys feel that how should DCR participate in facilitating corporate social responsibility by the cannabis industry? Ms. Franklin, I'm going to come back to you.
Again, I just want to say that there's so many things in place already at the city, and I really hope DCR not try to reinvent the wheel. For instance, when you're talking about all the things you've talked about today, the city is able to put these measures in place through development agreements and agreements with companies all the time. There's parameters for that. There's a very robust tracking system in place through the housing department for tracking jobs, business contracts, employment, ethnicity. Those things are in place. We can go to the housing department and say, we want to use that tool. In place, we have development agreements that have been put in place that give percentages of performance, 30%, whatever that is. You have to put that in because we know that best practices do not work. Best practices and good faith efforts do not work. They have to be mandates if you really are serious about doing something that's going to impact the community. Secondly, we have funds in place that have targeted communities we put together through Metro, other departments where you said these dollars are for this purpose. Housing departments has linkage fees that go to specific housing developments, can partner on those, and it's tracked and we're able to see where the money goes. These systems are in place in the city of LA. If we're serious about it, we'd be talking to them and implementing them, and it's not difficult.
Let me ask you this. What do you think would be the best way for licensees to submit corporate social responsibility reports and policies? What do you think would be the best way for them to submit them?
right through the city's tracking system that they already use. If you meet with the head of the housing department, they have a very robust system. You can see all the reports, all the departments can see them, the participants can see them. They're required to get payments. If you want to get a pay draw that you're drawing down money, you have to submit those reports. All of your subs have to submit those reports. It's not just about you as the main contractor or the business. Each of those people have to sign in any contracts that they're going to abide by those rules. So I would highly suggest you guys meet with them and look at it. It's been developed over time. It's all electronic and it is mandated.
Great, thank you so much. And Mr. McMillan, what are your thoughts on the best way for a licensee to submit a report or the best way for you to see the report of their policies?
So I'm thinking that probably an idea of having specific things that corporations can do to give back, like a list of things to pick from, whether it's working with an organization for a specific outcome or goal, or whether it's working with a school in a program or rebuilding something in the community, specific things for specific outcomes with their results. That way, if there's no results from what was attempted, then that was a failed corporate reinvestment at that point. So specific goals with specific outcomes, I think, will be good.
Great, thank you for your feedback. Ms. Plummer, would you like to move on to the next topic at this time?
Really quickly, what I do want to think about in this regard is like when we're thinking about the reports, should we be creating, should it be a surveys type of function? Should it be some type of written report, like an annual report? Should it, include certain categories that people check off that they've done or participated in youth access and prevention? Or as we saw in that one poll, why we did the polls beforehand, equity was the number one consideration for what should be included or an issue thought about. But again, like what, how do we go about, especially this first go around, and having to create this in the upcoming months? What should we be asking people for? What should we be collecting? Should it be, again, and the ordinance doesn't say specifically that has to be posted online, but should it have to be posted online? Should it have to be on their website? Should it, so I'm thinking about the actual application and reporting of that all.
Alfred, what's your comment?
Thank you. I do think that it should be posted online. I think we should know publicly what people are doing, but maybe we can create some type of point system where we can grade and score what your corporate social responsibility footprint is. Like if you are doing something in the animal sector, that's awesome, but is that really the best use of funds coming from the cannabis industry? So I think we should really rate, like, this is basic, yeah, that's cool, that's symbolic, but oh, this is real work here. So, and then we can measure from there, because we need measurable outcomes of what these corporations should be accountable for.
Gotcha. And I'm actually with that. I do want to say, like, if anybody has any more comments related to, again, like how we should submit it. Should it be something as simple as a survey? Should it be a more written out annual type of report that you would see from somebody, how Director Packer prefaced? Is it something that, quarterly people have to submit to get like the report card idea, or should it be, every 6 months people have to say this is or every first Q1 you have to say, okay, this is what I plan to do this year, or what I've done the past year. This is how I plan to move on. So it's just, again, any of these kind of, as I'm saying these things, any recommendations you have, drop them in the chat or drop them in the comment box for a Spark. But what we need help with, and what we are really enjoying from these Spark sessions, is how can we actually get this done and make it equitable? Like if people have to, and the corporate social responsibility reports are a mandate for everybody. So all applicants would have to submit a report. So how do we make it equitable and fair to everybody? Are there certain things that social equity applicants should have to check off a certain box for versus all applicants? And so I'm hoping that sparks some discussion, but that leads us to our next prompt a little bit, going back to what our previous speaker just said, as far as like evaluation. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly. It's nothing fancy. But for topic 4, these prompts that we are about to get into and go and talk about go into that idea about evaluation and how we evaluate certain things. And if there is a comment about like what we were just speaking about as far as how do people submit the report, what kind of report, what kind of policies or need to be in place, and how people can again create sustainability, let's hear that as well. But these next few discussions are going to be around the evaluation process of these corporate social responsibility reports. And I will say the comment box on the virtual meeting room is always open. So I hope you guys are, I know personally I'm sitting here taking notes on everything everybody is saying, but if you hear something from somebody or that sparks an idea for you for something else, feel free to always go back to the virtual meeting room as well, and drop it in the comment box. You can do as many comments as you want. It's not just one and done. But I'll go ahead and let MBI take over for this next set of prompts.
So the next prompts will spark a discussion around the evaluation of corporate social responsibility in LA. How should corporate social responsibility be measured and evaluated? And how can DCR encourage operators to participate in corporate social responsibility? I'm going to go to Louis. Louis, you might need to unmute yourself. There you go. We can hear you.
Yeah, I think you guys should vet the nonprofits before so that you would have an idea of who they're working with. And I believe that they should have like a mission type statement that they project why they're putting the money into this nonprofit and what are the objects they're trying to obtain. And so they should put those in measurables so that you guys can make sure that it's moving toward what they're saying that they're doing. But I believe that you should make sure that the institutions that they're working with, you guys, and I know that's a tough task, but you should vet them to know that they're going to do the correct thing for the community too.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Ms. Franklin?
Well, I think our best practices strategy would be to create a logic model for how you want to measure the outcomes and outputs for various different entities. I mean, that's how almost all other funding sources are measured, whether it's a foundation or the government, is through a logic model. And that's what I think is missing. It's a relational concept for how do you ensure that there is the outputs equal an outcome at the end of the day, and you're clear on what they are. Most nonprofits in the city, the ones that are providing services, have been through that process. And the other thing, again, is that there are systems in place. We have nonprofits who are vetted every day, programs where they need additional money to do things that they're supposed to do, but they're limited in resources. I think starting with that instead of, again, reinventing the wheel would be the best strategy. We have nonprofits approved through the EWDD, through the housing, through all kinds of different departments already. Starting there, they're working throughout the city, and work with them. This process needs to culminate in some type of strategy that is equitable in terms of the determination, and you have to do that through a logic model. This has to come out as some type of logical way for people to determine it. And there's great models at the federal government, because of course they give away a lot of money for people to work in all of the different things that people have mentioned here today: economic development, business development, housing. We can use those as models and tools. And I would highly recommend we look at the system the city already has in place. It's a reporting system. They report monthly. They can see outputs. And if you're not reaching those outputs, there's corrective measures for whether or not you're employing or hiring or all those things. And you can easily be adjusted to add other outcomes that you want to see happen.
Gotcha. And Mr. McMillan, should CSR reports have to be submitted to local stakeholders, as in like neighborhood councils?
I would agree with that, absolutely. And also just to comment on how should it be reported, maybe just an idea. Maybe there should be a list of things that we agree on that should be picked on what the corporate reinvestments should be. Identifying those specific things we think that are important to avoid, like what Quest said earlier, symbolism and just irrelevant things being done. Maybe there's a specific list that we all think is important that corporations could pick to give back, and then from there they expound on how they did it, or have specific measurable outcomes that need to take place with those specific points of how to give back to the community and reinvest.
That's an interesting thought. I have a question. Sorry to kind of jump in, but my question is around with that, I start to think everybody has something in their mind that they think is the cause or wants to, give their time, money, and or whatever to. So how would we go about picking that? Would we need to do a citywide vote or some type of, commissioner vote that they pick whatever those issues are, and these people have to meet these qualifications? Like when I think about looking at the code, I know generally it's, when I look at it and I read it, I see people can participate in corporate social responsibility through mainly four main ways: community engagement, corporate philanthropy, their relationship with their surrounding area, and then compliance. For me, I was like, compliance is something you should be doing anyway. So I wouldn't want somebody to submit a report saying, or if all they had to do was be compliant. And again, does everybody have to participate in some sort of corporate social responsibility? Because that's not in the code. We could easily say we need everybody to report what they've done, but we don't mandate that they have to do something. So I'm like thinking like that too. Maybe hope that sparks some thought. And like, again, if we do some type of evaluation, is it like this, like the PCN process where you have to get the neighborhood council, the stakeholder input form from the neighborhood council, LAPD and whomever? Is it through that type of route where you have to also submit the CSR report? Because what might be impacting the valley might not impact South LA. So is it, we look at it that way? Should it, I'm just trying to throw some extra thoughts out there.
Yeah, I would think it would be a collaboration with the community and find out what are the top things and have those things be the point of what they could pick from, to avoid what Alfred said earlier, symbolism stuff. Make it actually have measurable outcomes.
And that's why
you have to put it in a logic model, which both of you are describing, and this is best practices for funding and evaluating community and outputs. If you pull up and strategize on putting what your goals and objectives are and your outputs and then your outcomes, it would lay all of that out, and then people have to respond to that, and that becomes the basis for your evaluation. But without a logic model, it's very difficult to do.
And which is why I would encourage, and again, we're going to keep, and sometimes I hate to blast people's email boxes, but I've seen more and more engagement, especially with us emailing more about this initiative. But we need the community's input. We need to know who we're reaching and what will shape those things. And so these polls specifically, I think for us, what I'm gathering from there, okay, is if we do the logic model and we figure out here's what these things need to be included, we can say and go back and write these reports and recommendations and say, out of the percentage of people who participated in this survey, 80% of people said all of our corporate social responsibility efforts should be tied to equity or to hiring practices. I mean, we intrinsically can hear people say that. And yes, we make notes at every commission meeting and things of that nature when we're speaking to you guys, and even in here. But having this model now of Spark and this collection format, the further we can get this message and the more people that we can get to participate in those surveys, the better we can develop those recommendations moving forward, or figure out what it is we want to see. And once, especially for this first iteration, at least of these corporate social responsibility reports, because it is part of the annual licensing process. Again, after we do it, what else should we now evaluate? What should we add and change? And so again, I'm going to let us go on to the next one so we can wrap it up, because I know we're wrapping up in about 5 minutes or so. But yeah, just again, if you have more thoughts on that, drop it into the Spark box, comment box.
Are we going to the next topic now?
Yes, sorry, that is on me.
Oh, no problem.
Sorry about that. So for topic 5, we're gonna, this one is pretty quick, but so we're gonna wrap up with a few additional questions around, again, like the implementation of the policy and what we've currently seen from our operators.
So have any of you seen any operators with corporate social responsibility policies? And if so, would you implement that policy? Alfred, we're coming to you now.
To be honest with you, I haven't seen much. I've seen some symbolic stuff. I've seen some turkey giveaways. You know, I've seen some recidivism activations with a number of nonprofits, and a big push around this 40,000 inmate issue that we still have. And so I think, you know, it's things like that. Maybe we should all adopt an inmate, a cannabis specific inmate, you know, and to create some real measurable growth. Everybody coming out of the prison system won't necessarily be able to apply for a license. You know, one of the biggest issues that we have is the issue of a lot of the non-licensed operators who may have a great green thumb, a great sales and marketing opportunity naturally, or ability rather, not having the ability to actually perform in the legal space. And so maybe we can, on that scoring system, we can quantify how you're changing people's lives. Like if you're not teaching people how to fish, it's symbolic. And we need to make a clear mark of that. So we don't want symbolic help. That's great. We don't want the soup line though. You know, we need real measurable help. Thank you.
That makes sense. Sarah Armstrong, what is your comment on the topic? Ms. Armstrong, you might need to unmute yourself. You're unmuted on our end. Sarah. Oh, there you go. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I've been involved with, with cannabis. Sorry, let me try again.
Okay. And let me throw this out before we wrap up for the evening too. Should the city incentivize corporate social responsibility? And if so, how?
Okay, I don't understand why there's an echo. I'm sorry.
Are you on speakerphone?
Yes.
Yeah, you might need to get off speakerphone. Let me mute you. Let me take another comment and then we'll come back to you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Mr. McMillan?
I don't know if it needs to be incentivized. I think it needs to be a requirement. It needs to be a mandate for everybody to be committed to a corporate responsibility. I don't know about incentive, but I think it needs to be mandatory.
Mandatory. Gotcha. Okay, let me go back to Ms. Armstrong. You want to try it again? And if there's any other comment, feel free to raise your hand or put your question or comment in the chat box. Ms. Armstrong, we've unmuted you. You want to try it again?
And yeah, I know we have about 2 to 3 minutes left. So if she's able to join, let's hear her and then
yeah, we'll wrap it up. Yeah, she still has the echo. I can't really hear her that well.
I'll just go ahead and put it in the chat.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Ms. Plummer, do you want to take any more comments or do we need to wrap up? I know we're running out of time.
If we could keep them really short, let's go ahead and hear from Ian and Sherry. But if you guys could try to keep it to like 30 seconds. I see how, again, this 30 minutes went by so fast, but we want to do the spark share and some other quick things at the end. And so Sherry, if you have one, let's ask Sherry to come up and then we'll close out.
Ms. Franklin, you are, there you go.
I just wanted to say There's so many great programs that we implement here in the city, and the city participates already with nonprofits. So it would make it easier to track performance if it's a monetary or even if it is a voluntary situation or a donation, because those programs are already tracking those elements. So, and it would also build if
Oh.
we have types of strategies that is.
You kind of went out a little bit there. If you wouldn't mind dropping that, and
I'll drop it in the chat. I was just saying that we can track it through existing city projects. It makes it easier. They have measures to track money, where it goes, and then we'll build city pride if we have programs that we're working with to support the youth, and they already have tracking system capital.
Perfect. Okay, I got what you're saying now. I'm working with existing infrastructure to be able to track and monitor. So we are leaving, and I'll see you guys all back into the main room, and we have a few more poll questions, and then we're going to come back for a spark share. So we'll see what the other room also spoke about. So see you guys in the main room. And MBI, let's make sure we save that whiteboard. Thank you guys. Welcome back to the main room. Thank you all. We were able to get through a lot. I know our room had a lot of robust discussion. So I want to go ahead and we have a few more poll questions for you before we wrap up, because I want to get to the spark share so we can see what the other room spoke about. But really quickly, which of the following disparities should the legal cannabis industry in the city of Los Angeles seek to address through corporate social responsibility initiatives? And so we are going to go to the fourth poll and launch this. And so again, which of the following disparities should the legal cannabis industry in the city of Los Angeles seek to address through corporate social responsibility initiatives? And this is multiple choice. And hopefully there was some discussion. I know in our room one, there was a little bit about what should be addressed and how we should address it. And so I know our spark share with MBI in a few minutes, once we go through these last few poll and a few announcements, we'll can have some more discussion around, again, what do we want to see? How do we want to see it? What matters most to our communities? And everything matters, you know, for different communities, there are different needs. And so I take that into account, and I want everybody else to take that into account. And again, these sessions are recorded and they will be posted onto the virtual meeting room, and the presentations will eventually be up onto the website. So you guys can go back and reference this if you need to. But again, we want you guys to participate, and seeing things like this and seeing how others engage or what they would pick helps spark conversation. So the question was, which of the following disparities should the legal cannabis industry in the city of Los Angeles seek to address through corporate social responsibility initiatives? And by far, right, it says education, followed by employment, and then criminal justice and reentry, then health, and then housing, or employment. Yeah, education, employment, criminal justice and reentry, housing. It's interesting to see from those who participated. Again, education was number one, followed by employment, and then criminal justice and reentry, and then health, and then housing. And so now we have one more last poll. And so the question is, would a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy have an influence on how you felt about the business being located in or near your community? So if a business had a corporate social responsibility policy, would that influence how you felt about that business being located in your community? Yes, no, or unsure. So again, would a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy have an influence on how you felt about the business being located in or near your community? And if you are selecting unsure or no, and you have a comment for why that is, again, you can drop that into the comment box. Ooh, it's a cat. Drop that into the comment box, and that's open to everybody. There's not regulated to one comment at a time. You can leave comment. Ooh, a dog. You can leave as many comments as you like. I'm like, I love seeing all the people's pets and things. I'm especially like, it's so cute. I'm glad you guys are really engaging with us tonight. And so again, this last question is, would a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy have an influence on how you felt about the business being located in your community? And most people said yes. And again, I want to hear back from you. Drop it in the comment box. If you said yes, no, or unsure, what does that mean to you? And what does that say to you? Like, is it a yes, you want to support them? No, you don't want to support them. We want to hear every comment you have, especially from what you guys talked about at the in your various breakout rooms. So again, yes, by a landslide was the answer. So would a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy have an influence on how you felt about the business being located in your community? So yes. And so again, I want to remind everybody that we have extended these Spark sessions 30 minutes. As you can see, that it becomes a robust discussion. Invite friends, family to join. We want to have as many people and as many voices heard in the room. Our next discussion will be next Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. The stakeholder comment period will be from 5 to 6 p.m. As we heard tonight, we heard comments prior to the session about corporate social responsibility, some related to our past Spark session. So if you have a thought that comes up within the next few days that you want to give during that stakeholder comment period, feel free to do that then. You can always drop it into the comment box. The Spark session will be from 6 to 7:30, and you can RSVP in the virtual meeting room. That will provide you with the link to the meeting, and we will be talking about the social equity program. And I know that's a hot topic, so I hope to see all the same faces there. And again, as many people as possible, if you're in different organizations or groups, feel free to reach out to cannabisnews@lacity.org and let us know, and we can send you some messaging to send to your organizations and groups. Again, that's cannabisnews@lacity.org, or sign up for the email list. And as a reminder, the Spark virtual meeting room is still open. It's updated with the Spark sessions from the previous Spark session. There's also a playlist of the Spark sessions, and the upcoming Spark sessions are available to look at. We have resource stations, as well as the comment box and the survey station. And again, those resource stations have different things like fact sheets, FAQs, information about corporate social responsibility, and the such. So please make sure to visit there. And again, every poll question you guys participate in, every survey you participate in, helps us develop these reports. And if we don't have your participation, we can't develop these reports. So every survey you take, there's 2 surveys currently available. They're available through June 30th. Please make sure to participate, and again, encourage your following and those who are stakeholders or community members who are have thoughts about cannabis in the community. Please make sure that they participate. If they don't want to take the survey, there's always the Spark comment box, which I hype up all the time. Again, there's no limit on how many comments you can leave in the Spark comment box. We want to get everything. Even if it's a random thought you have on a Tuesday at 2 p.m., drop it into that comment box. You can get to that comment box from the virtual meeting room from the DCR website, which again leads me to how can you stay connected to Spark? We have our Spark virtual meeting room, which is again on the website. Go to cannabis.lacity.org, and you'll be able to click through to the Spark landing page, which will take you to the virtual meeting room. There you can have access to the email blast. You can participate in the survey, see what upcoming sessions we have, and leave a comment in the comment box. And so again, we want to stay connected with you, and feel free to stay connected with us. And we hope to see you at our session on Tuesday, Social Equity Program, 5 o'clock for the comment period and 6 o'clock for the session. I'm going to now pass it over to MBI. We're going to do a quick session share. I'm going to bring up the main facilitator of room 1 first. That will be Ms. Smith with MBI and her team, and they'll share the whiteboard that we put that we kind of were working on in our room, and she'll run through some of the thoughts that we had. And again, hopefully this will spark some thoughts in you guys, and can go back and leave comments in the comment box, or in the chat right now, or at the next stakeholder comment period. So Ms. Smith, take it away.
Okay, and in consideration of time, I'm not going to read everything on the board because, as she said, room 1 was really a robust talk. So I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the topics. I will not read everything, but you guys can kind of peruse it yourself. But corporate social responsibility, basically in our room, they were looking for businesses to give back, being a responsible and responsive partner in participation, analyze current social value of existing cannabis business, and also a thing that came up was hiring from the community. As far as corporate social responsibility report, no separation, this industry and the community activities, ongoing relationship with nonprofit surrounding areas within the city or within the state, address and focus on the unhoused community, and focus on nonprofits and services in social equity impacted areas. The next topic, which was CSR policies and reporting, keep in mind that there are already programs in place throughout the city, established goals and outcomes, best practices do not work, mandates are necessary. Moving on to CSR evaluation, create logic model for how outcomes should be measured. Reports should be submitted to local stakeholders. Check out the systems that are already in place. Someone brought up a good point to not reinvent the wheel, and identify what is necessary in the community. And last but not least, CSR incentives. Licenses should be revoked if there is no proof of CSR. Track through existing city projects and connect with organizations that services underserved communities in their area. And with that, I'll pass it on back to Ms. Plummer for room 2's report.
Yeah, so room 2, feel free to come up. I think that was Jocelyn and Kristen over there. So feel free to share your screen and give us some highlights of what you guys discussed. And I know Director Packer spoke in both of the rooms tonight, so I hope that helped spark some additional conversation.
Yes, thank you so much, Raina, and thank you so much, Director Packer, for just participating in our room and helping facilitate the conversation as well. So I would just, again, how Ms. Pamela mentioned, I will also be reading quickly from the board. So for the first question, which was, what did it mean to our room, what social responsibility was to them? They shared that cannabis industry should focus on marginalized communities, the morality and the equity over capitalism, as well as using a co-op structure in businesses and the industry, and helping employ underserved communities and tax breaks, as well as incentives for owners. And for the next question, which are in the orange, is what distinction should be made regarding corporate social responsibility? Some of the topics that were shared were employee pay, work incentives, paid sick days, health insurance for employees, and bonus programs should be included as well as in the report. And also, when it comes to what should be the standard of community engagement by cannabis businesses, is the cultivation. They should train youth and others affected by the war on drugs, help them give back to people that have problems, work with probation departments, nonviolent offenders, and help them do away with the stigmas. As well as when assisting the undeserved communities, they mentioned again the employee pay, work incentives, paid sick days, and the standards of community engagement should be based on a license type and income, or based in a work co-op structure. And the next question, or the next prompt, are how should DCR participate in facilitating the corporate social responsibility? And it's by providing a list of communities or charities or nonprofits that they can contribute to. And the next one, what should be the best way for licensees to submit corporate social responsibility reports? The report should be items businesses have done. So they want to see what has been done by these businesses, how have they contributed to their community and to the individuals. And lastly, what should be the best way for you to see licensees or corporate social responsibilities? And basically in-depth public report for more accountability, guide business owners with action items such as passion projects. And Kristen will share the other side. We weren't able to discuss as much the final prompt, but we were able to, the first question, how should corporate social responsibility be measured and evaluated? It said that DCR should develop a menu of criteria the first year to develop a plan and future years reporting on how the businesses did. Thank you so much.
And yeah, actually, we're going to take all of these again. They'll be in the final report, and they will be. We're going to just make sure they're nice and put together, and hopefully get those onto the website so you guys can see that. But we are running close to time, and I know we had some robust discussion, and hopefully next time we'll try to add more time during this session from 6 to 7:30 to speak. But I'm going to pass it over to Director Packer to give a brief closing. And before I do go, just for those who are interested, don't forget that next week, on next Thursday, June 10th, from 12 to 1:30, there will be a seed grant program, Lunch and Learn, with DCR and Elevate Impact LA. You can go to cannabis.lacity.org right now to RSVP. And so, Director Packer, feel free to give closing remarks.
Sure, and these will be brief. I just want to thank everyone for joining this afternoon session. I was able to jump into both rooms, and I know we had very robust discussion. So I want to thank everyone for taking their time on a Thursday evening to have these conversations and for joining consecutive Spark sessions. We do have 2 more Spark sessions left, and we hope that participants in tonight's Spark session will join us for the following sessions. And then we're looking forward to analyzing all of the feedback that we've received and producing this report alongside our commission. So I appreciate everyone's participation. I particularly appreciated the appearance of the pets. We should encourage more of that. I was trying to get my husky to join, but he's not dealing with me right now. But I appreciate everyone's time. Commissioner Villa, if you have any closing remarks, please feel free.
Thank you, Director Packer. I thought the session was very, very interesting. The comments from both rooms were insightful, and these sessions are really important to help us understand what the community is thinking and how we can work forward in the report to develop some appropriate guidelines as we go forward and changing in response to what the community wants, changing the regulations if possible. So I just want to thank everyone for participating.
Yes, thank you all for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you at our next Spark session, which is next Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. It will be on social equity programs. So please feel free to join, spread the word. Again, if you would like additional information or flyer or graphic to promote the session, the surveys, or the comments to your following or group, please email us at cannabisnews@lacity.org. Again, that's cannabisnews@lacity.org. It's the same email that you got the reminder email from. And let us know. We'd be happy to provide you with sample messaging to promote the sessions and the surveys and comment box. So we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 5:00 p.m. for the Spark Stakeholder Comment Period and 6 o'clock for the session. Thank you.